Hello, YouTube viewers, and thank you for tuning in today to episode 9. Today we're going to go ahead and discuss arrays. We're going to declare arrays, we're going to initialize arrays, and we're going to learn more about subscripts or indexes, whichever one you want to call it. And we're going to learn how to do this with multi-dimensional arrays. So without any delays, we'll get started. Again, how I'm going to introduce these topics are just going through kind of real life scenarios that I can think of, and then that's how I'm going to try to learn these new topics. So today we have Miss Bacon as a 4th grade class. It's not going to be 10 students, we're going to actually do 5 students, where she would like to enter the grades. She's going to enter 3 different test grades for each student. So let's go ahead and move over to our Eclipse. So go ahead and open Eclipse or whichever IDE you want to use. Last lesson, I went ahead, or last episode, I went ahead and pre-coded everything, and then I just talked through. This episode, I already pre-coded everything, but I'm gonna redo it again. I'm gonna leave my comments that I have here in the code, but that's how I'm gonna do it. And you guys let me know which one you prefer. Do you like it when I just review the code, or do you like it when I'm coding as we go along? So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go ahead and hit my run button. Excuse me, and this is gonna go ahead and walk us through how we want it to display. Okay, so we're gonna get a pop-up. It's gonna ask for the first student's name. So the first student name will be Eric. Second student name will be Amy. Again, we're not gonna have 5 students. I think we're gonna have 3 students. We'll see. Third student will be K. Okay, so 5 students. Fourth student will be John. And the last student will be Bob. And I didn't put any last time. I put some little checkers or little error handlers in the code. This time I didn't do that. So if you don't enter any names or any numbers in, you will get an error message. We'll continue. So then now what the code is going to ask us to do is enter in all 3 grades for Eric. So let's say Eric got a 68 on his first test, a 77 on his second, and a 45 on his third. Okay, please enter Amy. And again, see, it's going to say Amy up here, so you know, so Miss Bacon will know who she's entering a score for. So we're going to enter it for Amy. Let's say Amy got a 77, then a 98, then 71, and then for K we're going to do 99, 100, and 91. And then for John we're going to do 77, 37, and we're going to do 100. And then we're going to do for Bob 66, 45, 0. Okay, and then at the end, what it's going to do, if you look down here in my output, it's going to list out all the grades that Miss Bacon enters. So we have Eric, Amy, Kay, John, Bob. We display all the grades that we entered in. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do is delete this here, and again, I'm going to leave all my comments in, and I'm going to delete everything else. So delete this. We'll get started. Delete that. So delete here. Delete here. Okay, so if you're not familiar how I got here, so what you'll do is go to File, New, Class, and it's going to prompt you with New Class pop up. You enter your class name and you click Finish. But we already have our class created. I call it Miss Bacon class grade, so I'm just going to continue with that one. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'm going to clear this up down here. Okay, so I cleared that up. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and create some variables. And these variables are going to be used to hold certain values. So the first thing we're going to do, come down here, create my first variable, and all my variables are going to be private static. And the reason why I'm doing it static is I don't want to create any objects, so I'm going to use a static keyword. And this is going to be my first array, string. Okay, this is how you declare an array, and what I'm going to do I'm just gonna declare the array. I'm not gonna assign any value, so it's just gonna be initialized. So static string student name equals new string, and put in the size of my variable of the size of my array, which is gonna be 5 because I'm gonna hold 5 students' names. And then don't forget our semicolon. Okay, so we have our first variable set up to hold a student's name. Then we're going to go to our second variable, private. Again, I'm using everything. I'm using static for every variable just so I don't have to create an object. Final int, and this is going to be a count equals 5. Okay. This one's a constant, so it's not going to change. So throughout the code, this variable will always be 5. Okay, so that's why I did the final, and I put it in all caps just to assign to coders, like, okay, I see all cap, this is a constant, it's not going to change. We'll go come down here, private static, and this one right here, this variable I'm creating, I'm going to hold the student's grade int, and this is the multi-dimensional array. I have a grid I'm going to show you just to understand how we do this. Oops, hit my caps. Age equals new int 5 3, and my semicolon. Okay, let me show you this quick slide right here, and this, I feel this is going to help you understand how I declare this variable. Okay, so if you see here, the first section of the variable of the array in the first bracket, again, the numbers inside the brackets are called indexes, or you can call them subscript, whichever one you want to call them. You can call them whichever one. So the first index is going to be how many rows you're going to have in that array. So you see, I went ahead and did 5 rows because we have 5 students, and I have a typo here. It's not 4, it should be 3, but if it was 5 rows and 4 columns, that's how you declare. So always remember, your first index in a multi-dimensional array is going to be how many rows, and the second index, which is a 4 in this example, is how many columns. So always remember that, and that should help you out. Okay, so let's go back to Eclipse. So okay, so we have our student name, our student count, student grades. Oops. Again, some people love to have things spelled out correctly. I missed the R there, I added. It's not going to affect your code if you don't spell something correctly. Just if you don't have the R there, every time you want to use this variable, you have to refer back to how you had it when you declared it. Okay, so we're going to move on. And what do I want to do? I think what I want to do now is create the method that's going to handle the get student name. That's what I'm going to name this method right here. So, oops. So again, the comments here are going to illustrate what I'm going to be doing in this method. So I need to ask for 5 students' name, loop through it 5 times. I want the users to know what students they are, and I want to display the student number on the pop-up. So we're going to show you how to do all that in this method. So public, again, I made this one public. So for whatever reason, if someone wants to use this code later on, they can access this method. All these variables, someone cannot access them from outside of this class. So again, keyword private, keyword public. That's the biggest difference. That makes your method or your variable open to outside of this class. Okay, let's continue. So get student name, and this method is not going to accept any arguments, and if you notice, it's not going to return any values. So it's just strictly going to do some magic in here, I guess you can call it, but it's just strictly going to do some kind of computation or something like that in here. So let's go ahead and do int x equals 0. And here I'm going to have my loop. I'm going to have a do while loop. So, oops. Should use not a 0, should use O. So do. And then what I like to do is I like to skip the inside of my loops and just go straight to the how long do I want to do this for. So do while x, which I declared up here, let me put my semicolon, is less than, and again you see this constant I used above, I'm going to call it down here. So what I did is press Control Spacebar, I get student count. Okay, so I'm going to do whatever is in here, I'm going to do it while x is less than student count. And one thing about, again, with loops, you always got to understand you have to, how can I say, iterate through it. So if this right now is an infinite loop. So whatever code I put in here is just going to keep on going because I'm not doing anything with this x. This x is never changing. So I won't forget that. Let me just go ahead and do that. Okay, so every time it goes through, it's going to add 1 to the x and assign it to x. All you have to do is plus x, and that's what happens. Okay, so what I want to do in here is student name, which is this one right here. And again, to get that little pop-up, what I do is press Control Spacebar. Student name, have my bracket, x. So right now x is 0. So I'm using index of 0, which is the first place. That's another thing about arrays. They all start with, so if you come up here, student name, I put down that I need 5, think of it, I need 5 spaces for student names. But I'm starting with 0 here because the first spot is 0. So when you're looking at it from an index point of view, it's going to start with 0 and it's going to go to 4. But the size of the array is actually 5. So you count 0 as 1, 1 as 2, 2 as 3, and go on like that. So we have student names equal J option, and this is how I'm going to use my J option pane. Remember, I have this import. I imported this library up here. This is where I'm going to use it. So this is going to be the pop-up that I used in my example. So J option pane.show input dialog, and then null as the first argument I'm passing, and the second argument I'm passing, because this is basically a method. My computer's running a little slow, sorry about that. But the second argument I'm going to pass is going to be an actual string, is going to be what I want to display in the pop-up menu. Once when it's okay, so I want to say please, oops, didn't spell that right. Please enter student's name. Okay, and then now I want to put a title on this pop-up, and that's going to be my third argument I pass. So student, I'm going to do a little concatenation here. I put student, and I'm going to put a little space at the end, and this is how I concatenate x plus 1. So what this is going to do, because right now x is 0, so it'll say please enter student's name, and it'll be student 0. No, we don't want student 0, we want student 1, so that's why I do the x plus 1. Okay, and then what kind of pop-up is this going to be? This is going to be a question. Question message. So, and all I have to do now is include my semicolon, and boom, we're good. So this is going to iterate through 5 times, asking for 5 different student names. Okay, so we got that done. So if we look back at our comments, what do we want to do? We wanted to ask for 5 student names. We wanted to loop through that. We want the user to know what student they are on, so display the student number on top. So we want student 1, student 2, student 3. We got that done. Save the student names in an array, and this is what we did right here. As we're looping through, the x is increasing. So we started at x, the index of 0. We went to the index of 1. Once we get down here, we increase it. Is x greater than 5? No. So we'll go back again and keep doing the same thing. So we got everything taken care of. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to our next method. So let me scroll down here. Okay. Our next method is going to be public as well. Public static void. I'm not returning anything in this method. Get student grade. And the name, I mean, I'm going to keep this name, but this could be called something else like calculate student grades, or Well, I guess get student grade because the user's inputting the grade. So I guess, okay, I agree with that. Get student's grade. I'll name it that. I think that's fine with me. Again, it's up to you, your preference of what you want to name these methods. As long as you can understand what these methods are doing, you're perfectly fine. Okay, so we need to display what student name we're on and what student name we're entering the grade for. We need to display which grade we're entering. So if it's the first grade, the second grade, or the third grade that we're entering. So if they get, so basically we need to display which test we're entering for. So is it test 1, 2, or 3? And we also need to enter a total 3 grades, and then we also need to save those grades. So let's get started. So this time I'll declare 2 variables, x equals 0, semicolon, int z equals 0, semicolon. Now this time I'm going to use a for loop. This drives me crazy, this index. So there's a shortcut to quickly index it, but I'm trying to remember why I don't like it. I think because it formats. There's a shortcut to format this, but the way it does it, I don't like it. So I just do this on my own. So for loop is what I'm going to use. So int student equals 0. So right here I'm basically declaring a variable within my for loop, and semicolon student. We have 5 students. If it was 10 students, we would just change this to 10. I'm gonna keep it at 5. And then I need to iterate through this. So plus plus student. Perfect. So now we need our brackets for this. Come on, play nice. Okay. So we need to put our code into the bracket. So since this is a multi-dimensional array, this is where arrays get tricky when you want to iterate through an array. To do that, I'm going to use 2 loops. So here's another loop I'm going to do for. So the first loop's going to do the first column, then the second loop's going to do second. You'll see how it goes. So I'm going to create my next loop for int grade equals 0, semicolon, grade, oops, is less than 3. So we have 3 grades that we're entering, 3 test scores. I guess I'll use that. Grade. Okay. So again, this is basically the same way as a previous loop, but it's just the numbers are different. This time I'm doing it through 3, up here I'm doing it through 5. And you got to be very careful again with these loops, because you can get out of bounds. It's basically where you're expecting to loop through 5 array size that's 5, but you're actually going through 6, so you're out of bounds. So those are some of the error messages you can receive. So definitely want to be careful with that. It's so tricky to go back and find, okay, where I gotta go back and fix this when you're iterating through these arrays. Okay, I'll continue. So what I'm going to do is student, oops, I'm going to use the student grades. Student right here, and I'm going to use the grades right here. So I have 3 grades. Okay, equal integer. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to, when you use these J option panes like I used up here, they come in as a string. That's why right here I didn't have an issue, because student name right here, this array is actually a string array. But right here, the grades array is actually an int array, if you guys didn't see that before. So what I'm going to have to do is parse this. So integers, to parse them, this is how you do it. You do integer dot parse int, and now I'm going to put my J option pane. And that's how I parse to take a string, turn it into an integer. Dot, what am I doing here? Show input dialog. First argument will be null. Where's my comma? And then what I'm going to do here is please. Oops, forgot my quotation marks. Please. What am I saying? What are we going to say here? Please enter student name. Please enter. And again, I'm going to do a little concatenation. I'm going to get the student name. So use that array. student, go down to my fourth option, student name. I hope you guys can see this on the screen. Let's see if I can scroll. Okay. I just wanted to make sure you guys can see my screen all the way over here. So student name, and then I need the index, which is going to be student. Okay. And then do another concatenation. Okay. So let's say the student one is named Mike. So please enter Mike's grade. Okay, so that's going to be the question, and I'm going to have a title. So this title will be, you know what? So what will my title be? This is like the hardest thing, is to like think about, okay, how do you want to word things when it comes to code. But I'm going to do student name, index, student again, and then I'm going to say, so this will be, if this is Michael, I'll say Michael's grade. And this is not going to be grammatically correct, but hope you guys understand what I'm doing here. And then, so they can know what grade I'm entering. Oh yeah, let me do it that way. So I'm gonna use, you know what, I might not even need these. Okay, so I'm gonna use grade plus 1. And then this is gonna be a question as well. Back here, there we go. Captain pane dot question, and then my semicolon, boom, done. Okay, so what I did, this is going to be a pop-up. I'm assigning the grade, so it's going to say please enter. If the student name is Mike, we're going to say please enter Mike's grade, and then the title right here of the pop-up will be Mike grade 1, and then if we want to go to Mike's grade 2, it'll be Mike grade 2. Okay, so let's see what else do we want to do. Now the last thing that we have left to do is show, okay, you know what, I don't know why I included these, because I don't need these. I already used these down here, so I don't need the variables I declared up here. So I'll delete that. Next method we want to show all this like we did at the end. So when Miss Bacon puts in all the grade, see this little mistake I made right here? Instead of putting GRD, I put GTD. So change the T to R, and we're good there. Okay. And it highlights everywhere that I'm using that variable. Perfect. So the next method is going to be to show all the grades. So after Miss Bacon puts everything in, it's going to display the results at the bottom. So public static void show grade. That's what I'm named this one. My parentheses, again, this is not accepting any argument, this is not returning anything, so that's why you see between here there's nothing, and I have the return type as void. And for curly braces, okay, so what I want to do is I want to loop through and display the name. So I want to select, let's use Michael again as example. So I'm going to show Mike, then I'm going to show his first grade, his second grade, his third grade, his first score, his second score, his third score, whichever one you want to call it. So again, I'm going to kind of use the same loop I did up here. So for int x equals 0, semicolon, x less than 5, because I have 5 students I'm going to do this for, and then plus x. I can iterate through that. So add my semicolon, my curly brackets for the first loop. Let me create my second loop, because as I move through the first row, I want to go to the second row. So the second loop, oh, well, I'll do that later. So again, another for loop. So this will be int. I'll use the letter A equals 0, and this is just to loop through. So 3, and then we did go through the loops in a previous lesson, so we do the same thing we did before. And I use my curly brace. Okay, so now what do we want to print out? Let's come up here, print this section out first. SYS out, control spacebar, print ln, student. Let's print the name, because we're going to print the name first. Excuse me. And then we're going to have an index of 0 to start off. Plus, I want to separate it and make it nice and neat so it's legible. Or let me use the colon. Let me put a space here. Okay, so one thing, okay, I remember that time. I don't want the ln because I don't want it to display the student name and put the grades on a different level, on a different row. I want them all in the same row. So I'm going to take that out. So that's to iterate through the student's name. Then SYS out, control spacebar. What am I going to do here? Student grades. Space. And what I'm going to do some concatenation, student grade. And this is where I'm going to use the X and the A. So bracket X and my second bracket A. Again, remember, since we have 5 students, we're going to have 5 rows. So again, the first index is the rows, the second index in a multi-dimensional array is the excuse me, the second one is columns. Okay, so we have that. You know what, I want to take this print ln out. I want to just use print, so I want all these things to display on the same line. And to get the next student record on a different line, what I'm going to do is add a space right here. So I do SYS out, control spacebar. I'm not going to put anything in here, so this will give me my new line. And now the last thing we need to do is, let me show you this. Okay, save this and watch what happens. I'm gonna hit run. Nothing's gonna happen. This is, bam, it gave me an error. Good. The reason why nothing happens is I didn't create a main method. So main method is going to be very simple. Again, the way I like to code is I like to keep everything as neat as possible so I can refer back to it and trace it back. So I'll keep my main method very simple. Again, to create our main method, WAIN, control spacebar, enter, main method is created. So what I want to do is, first I want to get the student name. Oops. I'll just come down here. So first thing I want to do is get the student name. Then after I'm done getting the student name, I want to get the student's grade, yep. And then I want to show our result. Show grades. Okay. Control save. Let's go ahead and run this and see how it comes out. Okay, so please enter student's name. So we'll say Bob, enter. Student number 2, Eric, enter. Student number 3, Amy, enter. Student number 4 will be April. Last student will be Jay. Okay, so again we see, please enter Bob's, should be Bob's grade or Bob's test result, whatever you wanted to use in this here. But you see what I'm doing. So his first grade 67, his second grade 77, it's iterating through. Third grade 89. Okay, Eric, his first grade 34, second grade 0. Eric decided to sleep in again, 0. Amy 78, 88, 100. April 90, 98, 100. J, was J the last one? I think so. I'm not 100% sure. 67, 77, 85. And then, perfect. Only thing here is our little right here. We can easily get rid of that and play around with it more, but you see what would happen. Get the results just like we wanted. Every student is on one record. So Ms. Bacon was able to enter in her student's name, enter the student's scores, and get a printout or a display of the students and their scores. Okay, so again, we went through today's lesson. Excuse me, sorry about that. In today's lesson, what we did, we went through arrays and we initialized an array. We talked about subscripts and index, and we also used multidimensional arrays. Definitely hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Definitely I now see where we want to head to the class. Probably at the end of the episode, when to put everything together, what I plan to do is possibly create a user interface of like a banking system or something like that. Well, it'll be really neat. But definitely thank you for tuning in. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll continue putting out more content. We appreciate your time. Thank you.